Alright, so let's get into it. Peacemaker Season 2 Episode 4 just dropped, and this one might be the most layered episode of the season so far. On the surface, it's hilarious, brutal, and chaotic. Everything we expect from James Gunn's twisted DC playground. But underneath the jokes and bloodshed, this episode is setting up some serious long-term consequences for the DC universe. And trust me, the deeper you look, the more you realize this isn't just a standalone chapter. It's a turning point. First, let's talk about the opening. That cold open wasn't just another over, the top gag. It was a direct callback to the Suicide Squad. Notice the way Peacemaker's dialogue echoes his introduction in that movie. That's intentional. Gunn is reminding us that this entire series is rooted in Christopher Smith's original contradiction, a man who loves peace so much, he'll kill anyone to get it. By echoing those lines, the show is basically saying, don't forget, this is where he started. The question is, how much has he really changed since then? Then we get into the mission setup. The team dynamics are shifting again, and if you watch closely, you'll see that the tension between Peacemaker and Hey Character X fill in depending on what's actually revealed in Epi 4. Isn't just banter. It's laying the groundwork for betrayal. There's a shot where the camera lingers on their face just a second too long, and Gunn never wastes screen time. Bookmark that, it's gonna pay off, and then there's the villain reveal. Or should I say half reveal. This episode deliberately keeps things in the shadows, but we got enough hints to start connecting dots. That symbol we see etched into the background during the safe house scene, yeah, that's not random graffiti. Hardcore comic fans will recognize it as a deep, cut nod to Hey Villain Group faction. It's the kind of Easter egg that doesn't just reward readers, it also confirms the show is pulling from some of DC's darker, stranger corners. But let's talk about the big emotional moment. The scene where Peacemaker is left alone, helmet off, music swelling. It mirrors the diary reveal moment from Season 1. Except this time, instead of humiliation, it's guilt. The writers are playing a long game here. They're stripping away Peacemaker's armor piece by piece, both literally and figuratively. He's becoming more human, but that also makes him more vulnerable. And for a guy like him, that's dangerous. Now, you probably caught the obvious Easter eggs. The background posters, the offhand name drops. But did you catch the blink? And you miss it referenced during the bar scene. The bartender casually mentions a clown in Gotham. On its own, it's just a gag. But when you connect it with James Gunn's new role as co-head of DC Studios, it suddenly feels like a sly wink at the wider DCU. They're planting seeds even if they never fully grow. And here's the theory: Episode 4 is setting up a classic James Gunn twist. The enemy, we're told to fear, probably isn't the real threat. The true danger is going to come from inside the team, from mistrust, from hidden agendas, from the unresolved trauma each of these characters is carrying. Because remember, Peacemaker isn't just about a guy with a shiny helmet and a pet eagle. It's about broken people trying to figure out who they are in a world that doesn't make sense. Episode 4 is a reminder that sometimes the biggest battles aren't against aliens or supervillains. They're against yourself. So let's talk about what really stood out in this episode. The details that most people probably missed on their first watch. Because James Gunn and his team are notorious for hiding clues in plain sight, and Episode 4 is loaded with them. First, did you notice the way the camera framed the helmets? Every single time Peacemaker adjusted his gear, the reflection wasn't random. In one shot, you can clearly see SHIELD team member distorted in the chrome surface, and that's symbolic. It's a visual way of saying Peacemaker can't see his allies clearly. They're warped, twisted, maybe even untrustworthy. Gunn loves using reflections as foreshadowing, and this is one of those forbidden details that tells us more about where the story is going than the dialogue does. And then there's the owl reference. Yeah, it seemed like just a quick gag, but hardcore DC fans will know that owls are tied to the Court of Owls, one of Gotham's most secretive organizations. Now, does that mean they're actually coming into Peacemaker? Probably not, but remember how Gunn casually teased Bat might in Season 1, only for people to realize later that it wasn't a throwaway line. Exactly. Nothing is random here. Speaking of callbacks, let's rewind to that bar scene. On the wall behind Peacemaker, there's a sticker for Charlton Motors. That's not just any brand. Charlton Comics was the original home of Peacemaker before DC acquired him. This is one of those sly Easter eggs meant to reward the diehards. A reminder of his comic book roots, while also hinting that Gunn hasn't forgotten where this character came from. But here's where it gets really interesting. The way Wendy the neighbors, yes, she pops up again for that tiny moment, delivers her line feels way too deliberate. It's funny, sure, but it's also functioning as a callback to her running commentary in Season 1. Every time she showed up, she pushed Peacemaker closer to questioning himself. This season, she's doing it again, except now it's darker. She's basically the show's Greek chorus, telling us that no matter how much Peacemaker changes, the world will always see him as a joke, and that is eating him alive. Now, let's go even darker: the villain symbolism. That symbol etched into the safe house wall, the one shaped like a jagged spiral. It looks suspiciously like the insignia tied to a deep-cut DC villain group. If true, this could be a huge expansion of the show's mythos. And here's the secret connection: that same group was teased all the way back in the Suicide Squad, in background files on Belle Riv's computer screens. Most people never caught it because honestly, who pauses at frame 372 to scan through fictional prisoner data? But that's exactly the kind of breadcrumb Gunn likes to leave years in advance. Let's also talk about the emotional undertones. When Peacemaker has that quiet scene, the helmet off, staring at nothing, that's not just character development. It mirrors the way Rick Flag confronted him in the Suicide Squad. Remember when Flag said, "Peacemaker, what a joke." That line has haunted him ever since. And this episode makes it clear he hasn't forgiven himself for it. The show doesn't have to say it out loud, it's in the silence, in the way Cena plays the moment. Now, here's a theory for you. The fact that Peacemaker is empathizing more and more with his enemies suggests a massive twist is coming. What if the threat this season isn't really a villain at all, but something the team doesn't understand? This would mirror Season 1's Butterfly storyline, but on an even bigger scale. Instead of aliens posing as invaders, maybe the so-called villains this time are actually the victims. And if that's true, Peacemaker siding with them would flip everything on its head. And let's not ignore the comedy. Yeah, it's outrageous and ridiculous at times, but every single joke is covering up trauma. The meme references, the awkward banter, it's all smoke and mirrors. That's what keeps this show so powerful. It tricks you into laughing before punching you in the gut. So here's the poll question for you guys. Do you think Peacemaker is going to betray his own team before this season ends? Or is someone else going to turn on him first? Drop your theories in the comments because I want to see who's picking up on these clues.